I wasn't making that much money, especially compared to now, obviously. But in the moment, it felt like I was the richest person in the world because I was owning my own business and I was making money pretty much. Like I was doing eyebrows and I was charging $25 and it would take me, 30 minutes. I'm like, okay, if I do 4 eyebrows a day, that takes me a little under 2 hours and I make $100 a day. And that just felt like so crazy and exciting to me. I'm like, I'm literally the richest person in the world. Like,
all right. Hello, beautiful people. Welcome to the next episode of the Beauty and the Brand podcast. We're here with Alyssa Kotter. She's the founder of Lissy Skincare. And today we're talking about her stratospheric growth to multi-7 figures in less than 2 years. Welcome, Lissy. Tell us a little bit about, first of all, welcome. Hello.
Thank you. Hi, I'm very excited for you doing this.
I'm so excited to have you on here. I've loved watching your growth and I've loved watching Lissy Skincare just absolutely crush it this year. And let's go all the way back to the beginning.
Okay.
So take us through what inspired you to start Lissy Skincare and give us the background. What was that journey like from idea to reality?
Yeah. So I am an esthetician, first and foremost. And I went to esthetician school because I struggled with acne really bad. And, I thought the esthetician school would solve all my problems and my skin would be clear. And then I'd help other people clear their skin. And that was not quite the reality. My skin was not great in esthetician school. One of my teachers even said to me that I wasn't going to get a job after school because my acne was so bad. So that's kind of where I was at. Okay. Like end of esthetician school, my skin is like so bad. I'm like, cool. Now I'm supposed to help other people with their skin. This is like not going great so far. I ended up just going to become like a solo esthetician right off the bat, just doing like eyebrows, chemical peels, facials, trying to help people with their acne, but was at the same time still struggling with my own acne. So it was kind of a confidence hit for sure to be like, hey, come to me, but I don't know what I'm doing. I knew what I was doing. The products just weren't working for me for some reason. And
that must have been so challenging.
Yes. Yeah. And just trying like professional products and rooting for professional products, but not seeing quite the results that I needed to. And I did find, some skincare lines that I liked that would help for a bit, but nothing long lasting and nothing that would like really completely take away my acne. Things that would definitely calm it down and help, but not to the point where my skin is now, where I feel really confident in my skin and where I'm like, I have clear skin or I rarely break out, or if I do, it's gone really quickly. So I'm still very, very much acne prone. But we'll, get into that.
I would have never guessed. Like before I met you, I would have never in a million years have guessed just because you have such beautiful skin.
Thank you.
But it makes sense that like therefore you would start Lissy Skincare, which tells a little bit about like the brand and the products.
Yeah. So after a few years of being an esthetician and having that struggle and doing other like esthetician businesses kind of leading up to this, I had, the thought, I think I saw like another small skincare brand pop up and the thought just came into my head, like, I could do that. Somebody else is behind this brand. Somebody had to start this brand. So why couldn't I start a brand? That was pretty much like the inception of Lissy Skincare was that thought right there. And it wasn't like, it was just that thought. I could do that. And really the first thing that I wanted to start with was doing really great sunscreens, which you have to be FDA
Everyone who's listening.
It's like sunscreen is so difficult, especially starting out with your first product being that. But that's where my mind was at first. And I was like, I just want like some really great tinted sunscreens or like spray on facial sunscreens. I just feel like, we're kind of missing some really great options. Anyways, I quickly realized that was probably not going to be the reality in the beginning. And I'm so grateful that it's not what I did. I'm so grateful that it was not necessarily or financially possible for me to do sunscreens in the beginning, because Lissy Skincare ended up being so much better because I made products that were something I was so much more passionate about with sunscreen, and that was clearing my own acne. So after the sunscreen thought kind of passed by, I was figuring out what I want to do. And I'm like, well, I would really like to have clear skin, first of all. I would really like to not have fungal acne anymore. That would be great. So I started doing lots of research on products and ingredients. And I started learning about mandelic acid, which is literally for sure my favorite skincare ingredient. It is super gentle. It's pregnancy safe, which I was pregnant right before like launching Lissy Skincare. So I was testing out products while I was pregnant. And it's fungal acne safe, which was just such a big deal for me. So if you don't know what fungal acne is, it looks like typically flesh-colored bumps on your skin, just like skin texture, but it doesn't typically react the same way to like a salicylic acid or benzoyl peroxide because it's not actually acne. It's a fungal issue, like how dandruff is like a fungal problem.
Yeah.
It's the same thing.
Thank you for clarifying that, by the way, because that was actually going to be my question for the audience. Like, what is the difference and how do you identify it?
Yeah. So it typically, like, they don't really pop. It just looks like texture. It's not going away. Sometimes it can be itchy. Anyways, so I had fungal acne. No one ever talked about fungal acne, but a lot of people struggle with it and don't even know that that's what it is. And so they're trying to treat it with, regular acne products, and it's not working. It's super frustrating. And it's just, even if your regular acne is cleared, you have all of that texture, and it's just as big for me, like just as big as a confidence hit as regular acne, because you can't cover it up with makeup. Like, your skin just looks bumpy.
Totally.
And it's super frustrating. So I was learning about mandelic acid.
And even harder to like find a solution for it, because if people don't know they have it or how to identify it, then it's even more frustrating because it's hard to find the solution.
Yes. And I knew that I had fungal acne because before even going to esthetician school, I knew I had fungal acne. A dermatologist told me that I did, and he put me on some creams that would help a little bit, but literally burned my face off, like bright red, burning, stinging, but the bumps were gone. It's like, which one do I want?
Oh my gosh, that's awful.
Or using like anti-dandruff shampoo on your face as like a face wash, which as an esthetician, using shampoo on your face is really not great, and it would dry me out and make my skin really rough. So it's like, there's not a great solution. So when I discovered mandelic acid and the powers of it, especially for fungal acne, I was like, this is it. This is the direction I want to go. And so started creating our first product, mandelic acid. Mandelic serum is the name of our product. And just like that cleared up my fungal acne in a matter of days, literally like under a week.
That's amazing.
And and not only was it clearing up my fungal acne, but my regular acne too. And my skin was just so clear. And I was using it for such a long time before we launched, and it kept my skin clear that whole time. There wasn't like a period where it stopped working. So that's kind of the background, long story short, of how we started Lissy Skincare and our first product.
I love that. No wonder you kept with it and decided to start a brand based off of this hero ingredient, because it was so powerful and had such a transformative effect on your skin for a prolonged period of time that no wonder that you ended up going down this route. Now, I'm going to ask you a question about, how did you ultimately differentiate Lissy Skincare, knowing that there's obviously other brands, skincare brands on the market, and I'm sure there's brands out there that are using mandelic acid in some form or another. How did you ultimately differentiate Lissy Skincare?
Yeah, so there are other mandelics on the market. Not a lot, though. It's so unknown, and there's definitely was space for more like mandelics in the skincare world. Also, I would say one of the only other like really great mandelics is a brand that you can only get through like a licensed esthetician. So it's not as easily accessible. There are other mandelic products, but they're not using the chirally correct version of mandelic acid. So they're not as effective. They're just not as good. So we made a really, really good formula with the best type of mandelic acid and made it accessible to everybody. So that was like a big difference for us. And the branding, I wanted it to be really cute and really fun and not look like super basic. So I think that also helps set us apart too.
It is so fun. When you go and look on the website, LissySkincare.com, it's just like very bright and fun and welcoming. And it just like, it's nice to be able to look at on your counter.
Yeah. Thank you.
So let me ask you, Lissy, you, just for the audience to know, because I know we have a lot of people in here that are starting brands, launching their brands, growing their brands. You also had, you were an esthetician, but you also had a previous business to starting Lissy Skincare, and you did have somewhat of a following, or you did have somewhat of an audience, right?
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about that? Like how did you initially build your audience prior to the launch of Lissy Skincare?
Yeah, so I had just like a typical esthetician Instagram page, and I, was doing services, but where I really started to grow is I started making apparel for estheticians. So my esthetician community on Instagram just like blew up because everybody wanted my shirts, and that I did that for years, and it was super successful and super fun. It wasn't like my diehard passion. So Lissy Skincare ended up replacing that. But I did that. And that was so great to learn how to run a business, how to do like e-commerce and Shopify, building websites, shipping, all of that. That was super helpful. And then I also hosted retreats for estheticians before Lissy Skincare and during the beginning of Lissy Skincare as well for estheticians. So I had a really tight, amazing community on Instagram of estheticians before starting Lissy Skincare, which definitely helped in my launch, having all that built beforehand.
Do you remember? Yeah, and do you remember how big your audience was at that time when you launched Lissy Skincare?
I want to say I had like 24,000 followers on Instagram. Okay. And then we started Lissy Skincare, had its own Instagram page and still does now.
Right. Okay. Amazing. It sounds like to me, and we've chatted too before about this, that you are very entrepreneurial. Like you're somebody who, from observation, will take an idea and go with it and take action on it quite quickly. And you just have this natural, it seems like a natural ability towards business. Do you feel that way as well? Or do you feel like it's something you've learned over the years?
I do think it's more of a natural thing. Like I didn't go to school for business. I honestly don't feel like I know very much about business. I have had to learn so many things along the way, but as far as like having an idea and going for it, I feel like that's natural. And all of the, steps of, legal things and all of that, that's not as natural. And that's been, a step-by-step process. But I do feel like some great ideas have come into my head and I haven't held back from just going for them. Yeah.
I love that because a lot of times that's actually what holds back folks from starting businesses. Is that something that you've, like going back to your childhood, would you say that that's how you were brought up? Like, hey, like take messy action? Or is that something that was innate to you or maybe a combo of the two? Like, going back to your childhood, do you have any like lessons or beliefs that were sort of passed down to you that allowed you to have that ability to just go for it?
I honestly, I'm not sure where it came from. Growing up, we did not have a lot of money at all. But I had family members like my uncle who owned a business. My dad worked for him growing up. And my brother, he's 10 years older than me. And when I was in high school, he bought a business and has run like a super successful business. So I've seen people in my life do it. And I think that's helpful. And also, I think just growing up not having a lot of money gave me drive of like, I want to earn money and
Yeah.
and that has been a really great thing in my life, and something that's also hurt me, something that I've had to kind of learn to get past, as far as like I do find myself having a very scarcity mindset a lot, because I think I just grew up not having a lot of money, so I kind of hoard money now, or like I'm so scared to spend it. But I've kind of had to learn how to reframe my brain to have a more abundant mindset because of that. But I also think that it did make me like work really hard for what I wanted. And
Absolutely.
yeah.
I love that. And I think, I personally think you have a very abundant mindset. I think it does allow you to make investments in the areas that you know you need to, but also I think there's a balance, right? And also hold back on things that, you know, can be held back that you can get scrappy with.
Yeah.
Which I think is the nice combination of any entrepreneur.
Yeah.
So you grew your brand to 700,000 in less than a year in business. Tell us how you did it and what helped you in reaching this goal entirely self-funded.
So crazy to think about. I would have never thought that would have been the case. Yeah, so we did, I can't even believe that's real, 700 in the first year, and within right under a year and a half we hit 1 million. So that was really an exciting milestone for me, was hitting that 1 million in under a year and a half, and being completely self-funded. It's just me, no loans or, you know, anything like that. And we hadn't run any ads, done collabs or anything. So that is something that I'm very proud of. That was literally just me and, you know, a couple employees working for me, and we were able to make that happen. So that was really exciting. So how we did it, I guess, I would say there's a lot of factors. One, having that audience before that I had built like a personal connection with was really helpful at the very beginning. Like on launch day, you know, like I had people there, which was great and helped me continue to keep going. And then we got on TikTok, and that was also really helpful. I had to grow that audience from nothing on there. But we started really early with TikTok Shop, and that helped just boost, like the algorithm boost us so much, because we were one of those first people on TikTok Shop. And that was so helpful for new people to find us. But I also think that one of the biggest things that has been such a help in Lissy Skincare is the personal, like, founder connection to the brand, if that makes sense. Like me having acne and me having fungal acne, and being able to share that, show my befores, show my afters, connect with people on how difficult it is to have acne mentally, physically, and speaking to my audience like I'm talking now all the time has been really, really helpful. I think there's a lot of value in brands that are super professional, like just, you know, pictures I get on there on TikTok, especially very raw, very like not always put together, but I am talking to them like they're my friend, and I am sharing with them like the passion that I have with Lissy Skincare, sharing with them other customer stories and reviews. And so they can see like how much of an impact is made in my life, other people's life. And if you have acne, you know that you would give anything to not have acne. So I think that personal connection has been such a big thing for our business and helping it be successful.
100%. I would agree with you. But I will sort of challenge you on the fact that, you know, it's not just the fact that you are raw and that you are telling your story, which people can relate to, but you're also very consistent on that platform.
Yeah.
Like that's a test, you know, yes, like you can share a story one time, right? Mm-hmm. Once a month, let's say, or once every 2 months, but that's not enough. It's got to be much more consistent than that. So can you kind of shed some light around how consistent you were in those first, like, you know, 6 months in business on TikTok, and, you know, how often you're on there now?
Yeah. So, I mean, every single day, at least a video every single day. For sure, you have to be consistent, and also just when you get those breaks on TikTok, like a viral video or something, you have to like ride that wave as much as you can. It's like, okay, cool. Video's going viral. We are going to make 5 more videos right here, right now, because people are coming to our page. And also with TikTok, especially, you just don't ever know who's going to see your video or how well it's going to do. Some videos get like such a small amount of views, and then the most random one will, go viral. So it's really just putting out as much content as you can, just over and over again, and seeing what sticks. So we definitely do. I mean, I tried to do at least 1 video a day on TikTok, just talking about either my story or sharing a review, talking about acne, something like that. Because you for sure have to be very consistent when it comes to social media.
100%. And do you find that now over the last year and a half, have you found that there's certain videos that do better than others?
Yes. Yeah, for sure. The ones of me talking, and I feel like all the ones that have gone viral are never the ones where I'm trying to be like, look really good, be in really great lighting, talk really professionally. It's always the ones where I am like I think our most viral video, or the one that has generated the most amount of revenue, is me like sitting on my bed in a hoodie, just being like, I'm so happy you guys love the products. It makes me so happy that like it's been able to clear your acne too, and just like being really excited for our other customers, but like so not put together. Like it was nighttime, it was dark, I was in front of a lamp. Like, so I think it kind of depends on the platform, but for TikTok, I feel like the most casual videos that you can still like connect with people on do the best. And I feel like it's different on Instagram though. I feel like the more put together and like, I don't know about put together, but like more aesthetically pleasing or like bright, good lighting videos seem to do better for us on Instagram. So I think it really depends on the platform and just your audience. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. No, interesting that like you've seen the difference between the 2 platforms. Because I feel like Instagram is now moving in the direction that TikTok's gone in, where it's like, I feel like it's, there's been so much like over professionalized content, then now it's like more of the raw content that's doing better.
Yeah. I mean, I do agree. I just think maybe on Instagram, for me personally, I wouldn't put some of the videos on there that I put on TikTok, and maybe I should. Sure. But I also feel like on Instagram, like the place that, and not even just for Lissy Skincare, like going back to when I was selling my shirts and everything, the place that I sold the best was getting on Instagram stories and talking face to face, like I was on FaceTime with my friend. That is for sure like the best thing on Instagram for us. And stories, no one really watches those on TikTok, So it's just kind of
you're spot on. Yeah, absolutely. And it's tough because I think like for those of us who like have that professional background and may have gotten used to, especially like folks who are coming from corporate, who feel like they have to be buttoned up all the time, it can be hard to let loose, and especially in front of the camera, especially when you know that could be seen by thousands of people.
Yeah.
So I love that this is sort of like, I want to put a pin in this as a reminder to everyone who's listening, like that the more authentic, the more raw, the more genuine you can share the message that you want to share, whatever that may be, the more that people will be able to connect with who you truly are versus like the buttoned up version of you.
Definitely.
So, and that's always hard. Like I find that personally to be hard to do. Like it's from years of like college and corporate and all the years of like training to be professional. It's hard to let that go.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that comes to you naturally, and that it comes through and connects with your audience. So now that you're in year 2 in your business, what is your revenue goal for this year? And what have you done so far to achieve this goal?
So our revenue goal was originally in my head $1 million, which we did $1 million in a year and a half. And so I was like, I want to do $1 million in a year. And then I was like, I think that's going to be too easy. So I did 2 million, and we have already hit the $1 million. Yeah. So that's really exciting. I think it's going to be a close call on the 2, so we'll see. But what I've done to try and get there is we've launched 2 new products this year. So we launched our cleanser, and today, actually, as we're recording this, literally 2 hours ago, we just launched our moisturizer. So that's always helpful to just have more products for people to buy, obviously. We've also been trying to just tighten up our what's the word?
Operations.
Yeah. And like how we're going to do our sales, or how we're going to do promos, and just getting more ready for things, where I feel like we were just kind of uber bootstrapping it, the first year. It's just all right, let's hurry and figure out what we're going to do for this. It's Mother's Day in a couple days. Let's hurry and figure out this. And just getting things more planned, more ready, trying to be a little more professional. So I think that's been helpful. We started running ads about 6 months ago, which has been exciting. We're starting to work with affiliates. We just got on LTK. We're trying to do affiliates on TikTok. So just reaching out in a lot of new areas. I think that's kind of what we're trying to do. Instead of just me talking about Lissy Skincare, we're trying to get other people to talk about Lissy Skincare too.
Amazing. And you touched on ads, which I love, because I can't even tell you how many people I have that come, that I talk to, founders that feel that they have to launch their brand with ads. And I haven't yet had one person say they launched with ads and it worked out for them.
Really?
Versus the founders and the brands who, like yourself, will grow their business organically. And then when the time is right, they add ads to the mix because they know certain metrics and certain pieces of their funnel or their e-commerce are working well. And then they add ads just to add fuel to the fire. So ads don't start the fire, they add fuel to the fire.
Yeah.
And so I'm curious to know, tell us more about your experience. What made you ultimately decide, okay, now it's time to run ads? And what was that like?
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Like I said, we were doing really great without ads, but I was like, I just want to kick it up a gear. And I feel like now we've had videos go viral, and we've seen really busy times, and we know how to handle it now. So if ads increase that, we know we're going to be okay. And so that was a big part of it, just saying okay, I don't want to be the only person pushing this on my TikTok account. I need money behind it, and for it to be spread out, just more brand awareness on other platforms, and just kind of pushing that to our audience that we're wanting to see it. And can't remember what I was going to say.
What do you think has worked best for brand, of all the things that you've mentioned? So you mentioned you've, put some money behind ads. Obviously you're doing TikTok Shop, you're partnering with affiliates, LTK, doing some partnerships, sponsorships. What do you feel has worked the best so far for brand reach? Not conversions. I'm going to ask you that as a follow-up, but brand reach.
So for sure, still my TikTok, I think, because I'm pushing out so much content.
Amazing.
And because it's linked to TikTok Shop, I still think it's me. And then second, it would be ads. And then we are still so baby new to LTK and affiliates. We've done a little bit of affiliates here and there, but we don't have a big handful. And we really haven't pushed for it, but we're now just starting to say, okay, we're going to do affiliates on LTK. We're going to do affiliates with TikTok Shop, and really pushing that. So that's still so new. And I think that has potential to grow a ton, but I'm not sure yet. But right now I'd still say it's me.
And how powerful is that for your margins as well? That means that you can, of course, invest in your operations and your team and, just making the best product you can possibly make, all the things.
Yeah, 100%. It's been so good for our margins, obviously, and literally not paying any influencers, not paying any ads for so long, and just being able to save that money to put into new products, and now to be able to put a good amount of money under ads, and just having that kind of bank there. That's kind of it's I don't feel stressed when I'm saying, okay, let's run more on ads. And that's been so helpful. I can't even imagine having to start a brand with ads and just hoping that all of this money that I'm spending is going to give me a return, where I know I have an amount of money now that is no problem to spend on ads. So that's been so helpful.
And that's the way, that's the way it should be done. And then in terms of conversions, is your answer different? Like, are there certain things or platforms that convert better, that have converted the best for you?
I think Google is probably our highest right now. And then I want to say TikTok, and then Instagram. I could be a little off, and we did just start with a new ads girl who I really, really love. She's been great. But we just recently started back on Google, and so far it's been really good. But I think TikTok has also just been so good because we've had a lot of videos go viral, and I think people have already heard the name. On TikTok especially, I just feel like we're decently well known. I feel like a lot of people see our videos, just the organic videos from over the years, because I am pushing out so much content and it's linked to TikTok Shop. So then they see those ads, and it's already just kind of like a reminder in their ear instead of something that they're seeing for the first time.
100%. Yeah. Interesting. You're not the first person to tell me about Google, like Google ads being a great conversion channel. There's been a few brands that have said the same thing. We actually did a poll in our community a couple of months ago, and believe it or not, Google ads came back as the top conversion channel.
Really? Yeah, I've been very surprised by it. I have been very surprised by that. And so I guess we'll keep an eye on it.
Absolutely. It's been really interesting. So tell me, now that you are experiencing this increased demand, increased growth, what systems and processes have you had to implement in order to handle that growth and to continue to grow even further?
Yeah. I think that the biggest thing for us has been I've hired people with specific jobs and that are good at specific things. Like if I was trying to do this by myself, there's no way. There's no way. So hiring like a VA, that was my first hire, is hiring a virtual assistant who just helped me with everything that she could online, pretty much helping me with setting up pages on the website, customer service, posting on Instagram. And now we just hired someone that is a social media and analytics expert. So that's been so amazing. And then having girls that are just here for fulfillment and just having very specific things for everybody that takes a big load off of my plate so that I can work on the business and creating new products and things that are going to really move the needle and convert. I think that's been really great. Also being in masterminds and having people like tell me what to do, which might sound dumb, but it's like I'm not very like business, like I don't have any training in business. So for somebody to tell me like, hey, let's get you ready for Black Friday, Cyber Monday. What are you going to do? Here's the things that you need to look at from last year, or things like that. Like those things don't run through my mind as well as they should. I'm more just like, I want to create products and make videos on TikTok. So having people that are smarter than me tell me what to do has been super helpful as well.
I love that. Yes. And I feel like as the business grows, it's like the more you need to create, as you build your team, the more you need to create those better systems in order to support those team members so that anyone can jump in at any point and be like, and hit the ground running, right? When they enter your company. But I really just want to acknowledge you for the fact that you did make that first hire in the first place. And it seems like that was again, like I go back to like, was that innate? Did somebody tell you? Because when we started working together, you had already had your VA in place. So like, was that someone told you like, hey, you should hire somebody versus doing this all yourself? Or was that innate?
I think it was me. I don't think somebody told me to do it, but at the time that I was prepping Lissy Skincare, I was pregnant. I had my baby, and then 6 months later, we actually launched. And I knew that I could not do it all by myself and also be a present mom. And I think I just needed somebody. And I started out with her just so small. Like, I need someone 10 hours a week to help me package and fulfill orders or post on Instagram or help me take pictures. And I just knew I needed that little bit of help and that it would be definitely worth it. And especially where I was just starting small. And then since then, now I have my VA is almost entirely full time. I have 3 other employees. And so I think just starting small, so it didn't feel so scary to pay somebody. But yeah, I definitely knew that I needed that help.
Yes. And I think what I'm hearing too is boundaries, is like knowing your own boundaries, like knowing your own self-worth and knowing here's the parent that I want to be at home, or here's the lifestyle that I want to lead and how I want my day-to-day to look. Yeah. And I know that, like I wanted to kind of emphasize that because it's not always common knowledge and it's not always innate for everyone, for every founder. A lot of founders I find want to try and do it all themselves. And that's where they get themselves in this very, very deep hole of, working in the business and never on the business. The reason partly that from my perspective of why you've been able to grow so well, partly is because of that support, that you just had this like intuition to say, I need to make sure that I have somebody helping me with this. I have mat leave coming up and I, have this baby and I don't want to be, I want to parent a certain way and I'm going to need help. And the fact that you were willing to ask for that help and know that it would be worth it and that it would pay off long term is also like a testament to the belief that you had for this business and for yourself.
Yeah, no, I definitely believed in it, and I knew I could do it because I had had other successful businesses before, like the shirts, like I had taught Instagram courses, I had those retreats, and I remember telling myself, like, I have made at least I don't know. Like at least $30,000 to $40,000 in every single one of these individual businesses. And for some of them, a lot more. And I'm like, if I'm starting with just one business and I'm starting small, I know that I can at least make my money back. And I did. I think I doubled it within a couple hours of our launch day, which was like, okay, I can do this. Yes. I think I had this almost imposter syndrome too of like, you hear people starting their own businesses and how it's such a grind and, you're up so many late nights and you're just grinding away. And I'm like, I don't want that at all. Like, I don't want to be up late working on my business all day. And for some reason I thought that was going to make me fail because I'm like, I'm not fitting in this mold of this typical business owner that is just like up all night, stressed, just doing everything in the business, working so hard. I'm like, I actually don't want to work that hard. Is that bad to say? I don't want to work that hard. I want to own my own business and make it have me work less. And I want it to make me be a more present mom. And that kind of felt impossible from just like what you hear from business owners. And I'm like, I don't know. I don't want to work that hard, but I want it to be really successful. And that kind of sounds crazy to say. I don't think I've ever said that out loud, but I do work really hard. I just don't work as much. Like I really only work a few hours a day on the business. And that is because I've set it up in a way that I have employees that do the day-to-day things for me so I can zoom out and focus on creating new products or, setting up new systems or, having meetings that are going to actually help in my business. And so I'm not working 8 hours a day on my business and I am being a more present mom. And that has definitely been something that I have realized is a possibility to not have to work that hard and to own a business that's successful.
So many questions to follow up on that because first of all, I love that you shared that because it goes back to boundaries. It goes back to like knowing yourself, knowing how you want to work, how you want to show up. And you may have not known this as you were thinking about it, but the fact that you created all of that space for yourself to think and be present is actually what allows growth to happen, because you can't grow a business when you're grinding away. It like
Yes.
physically, like your brain just can't handle it. Because you
Definitely.
don't
And I'm
have
not burnt out.
Yeah, exactly. If you're burnt out, you don't have the capacity to even think outside the box. You're just like, oh, I have to do this and I have to do this. I have to do this. And you're just grinding away, 1 hour after another into the wee hours.
Yeah.
So did you overcome that imposter syndrome? Like you had this feeling of like, I don't know if I want to work this hard and how can it be easier? How did you overcome that imposter syndrome?
Yeah. And I don't even know if working hard is the right word, but like not working that much. Like I didn't want to work 8 hours a day and being a mom.
Right.
How I came over it, well, that's the feeling that I had from the very beginning is like, I want to have people running my business. And so I had that feeling, kind of felt like it was illegal to feel that way and own a business. But as I just like throughout the years and the way I've seen it be so successful and still being true to what I wanted and not working 8 hours a day, not working in the nights, not being so crazy. And of course there's days or weeks that are crazier than others. Like this week and next week are literally going to be so crazy and I'm going to be working on the business so much. But on a day-to-day basis, it's not like that. And so just doing that, staying true to that and seeing that it can be very successful, I'm like, that's kind of how I got over it, just seeing the success of it while doing what I wanted.
This is like, it makes me so happy. And I love that you're sharing this with our audience because I hope this gives our listeners permission to look at it through your lens and that it is possible to have, number one, to set boundaries, but number two, to create more of a lifestyle business that allows you to be more present with whatever it is that is important to you, whether it be your family or elderly parents or traveling or whatever that is, like philanthropy, whatever that is for you. And then, one thing I wanted to go back on, like all the way back is, you referenced this confidence that you had with this business because of your previous businesses. Now take me back to that very first business that you had. Like, how did you, when you were starting that very first business, do you even remember like what your thought process was during that business when you were starting, whatever that very first business was? And what did you learn from it?
So it's interesting. Like being a solo esthetician, I would say that was my first business. And looking back, I wasn't making that much money, especially compared to now, obviously. But in the moment, it felt like I was the richest person in the world because I was owning my own business and I was making money pretty much. Like I was doing eyebrows and I was charging $25 and it would take me, 30 minutes. I'm like, okay, if I do 4 eyebrows a day, that takes me a little under 2 hours and I make $100 a day. And that just felt like so crazy and exciting to me. I'm like, I'm literally the richest person in the world. Like, and I'm only working a couple hours a day. Like I've had that mindset since the very beginning, apparently, because I'm like, I only work in 2 hours and I'm making $100. Like that's crazy. And I never went back to ever working for somebody. And I just continued to grow and like really just fall in love with like doing something successful and honestly like making money. And I don't know if that's from like growing up without money, but it honestly feels like growing a business feels really exciting and almost like a hobby. Like I want to do this and it's really exciting.
Me too. I love that.
Grow something. Yeah. And you get those questions like, what do you like to do? What's your hobby? I'm like, I don't know, running a business. Like that's fun and exciting to me. And seeing the numbers grow and seeing things like snowball, like that's my hobby. Yep. That's really fun to me. And so
that's my hobby too.
Yes. Okay.
Like, what could be more fun than that?
I know. I'm like, but I never say that because I feel stupid saying that to just like a, random person. Like, my hobby is running a business, my job. But yeah, I think that just growing that love for that. And then I started the shirts. That was like the first like e-com physical business that I ever did. And it was so much fun. And I saw like the growth that was in that. And that was just like another stepping moment, like a stepping stone from taking clients to now doing e-com and seeing how much bigger that can be than that. And then doing retreats and saying, okay, in this short amount of time, I can make this amount of money. And this is also really fun. And it's like doing something that I love. And I feel like everything was just kind of like a little stepping stone. And now Lissy Skincare is like what I'm so passionate about and putting all my energy into. And I'm not really looking for another stepping stone as far as a different business, except one's inside the business of growth. And I don't even know if I answered your question. I just started talking, I guess.
No, you don't. You totally did.
Okay.
You absolutely did. What I heard in all of that is that you keep expanding your ceiling.
Yeah.
So maybe there wasn't a ceiling to begin with, or maybe there was, but that first business, it was like, oh my gosh, I'm making $100 in the day in 2 hours. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Like that was like living the dream. Right. And then that dream or living the dream feeling just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yes.
And so it's interesting because like, I'm sure when you look back, you're just like, oh my gosh, I do that in like a minute now,
Yeah.
And then it just keeps expanding. And it's so exciting to see that, to watch that, because not only are you an expander for your business and for your team members who then have more opportunity, but you're also an expander for your followers, your audience, the people who are watching you, who are seeing you achieve this as a young mom, and for your daughter too. So can you speak to kind of the impact maybe that you've had? Has anyone shared with you like, wow, that's so cool that you're doing this. Like, I want to do something like this.
Yes. And I think even just going back to like doing the shirts, I do feel like I inspired so many other estheticians while I was doing that to do something outside of services. I think that was like, also like the height of me on Instagram as an esthetician and that community. And since then, there's been so many estheticians that have started shirt companies or other things outside of just services. And I do think that I did inspire a lot of that within the esthetician community, which I am really proud of, because even for me, I didn't love doing services. Like, I really didn't love taking clients, and doing like a physical business or e-com, like I really loved. And so kind of showing people, you don't have to stick within this box that you went to school for. You went to school to become an esthetician, but that becoming an esthetician was just the beginning of being able to expand to so much bigger than just taking clients. And I would assume that it is the same with Lissy Skincare now, and having people see, oh my gosh, and not to say that I'm the first esthetician to start a skincare line, but I think I am one of the first more well-known estheticians to start a skincare line, or one that had like a following on Instagram or a community there that started a skincare line. I'm not the first, but I'm one of the first. And I think for people to see how successful it's been, I think that I can only imagine it's been inspiring, and I hope that it's only been inspiring to other estheticians to either do the same or do something similar, or something that they're really passionate about, if it's not just taking clients all day.
Yes, absolutely. And I think what we see, especially in the service side of beauty, is that eventually you can burn out quite quickly, because you're constantly on your feet, you're constantly using your hands, you're constantly using your body. At some point, like, there needs to be, what I would encourage anyone who's listening who may have a similar business is thinking about what are those other layers that you can add, other channels, other streams of revenue that you can add into the business that can help to reduce some of that burden on just relying on yourself, your body, your hands, your person, like Definitely. You having to physically show up every day, all day, every day. So, okay, I have a fun question for you. So besides some of these amazing milestones, revenue milestones that you've had so far, are there any watershed moments that you're most proud of with this business?
I feel like I've told you, like, I feel like the hitting 1 million was such an exciting moment for me. I also feel like this moisturizer launch has been that for me too, because it's been something that I've worked so hard on just myself with, like, formulating this to perfection. And I feel like it's been such a product that I felt like almost didn't even exist before. And I know it's just a moisturizer, but like this moisturizer, I feel like just did not exist. One that's acne safe, fungal acne safe, and wasn't like hurting my sensitive skin, was actually thick enough to be moisturizing. I could not find that before. So I'm so excited about this launch particularly because I feel like it's very different than other things that you can find. Having videos hit 5 million or more on TikTok has been so fun. Or, actually something that's like very surreal to me still is so I live in a very small town. I feel like nobody here is like, oh, hi, you're Lissy Skincare, because I already know everybody here, But when I go to like Salt Lake a few hours away and have people stop me at the mall and being like, oh my gosh, you're Lissy Skincare, I use your products. Like, that has happened to me so many times, and that is like such a fun moment for me. And I hope everyone that sees me, if you recognize me, to come say hi, because I love it. I think it's so much fun. It makes me feel like, oh, people are actually seeing my products. People that I do not know are finding me and using my products. Like, that's also crazy. That's a big one for me.
Yes. I love that. I had this one moment, like, I think it was last year, where somebody saw me at the airport and I was just flying in. It was a flight. I remember it was a short flight, and it was with my little son, and he was like, I don't know, like, I guess 2.5 at the time. And I'm like wrangling him. I've got like my luggage, and then I'm wrangling him. And like, we just got off a flight. So he's like tired and hungry and all the things. And I feel like sweaty. And then of course somebody recognized me at that time. I was like, of course it happened at that time.
That's so funny. But I'm like, anytime somebody recognizes me and is like, oh, are you Lissy Skincare? I'm like, do I have any breakouts right now? Like, does my skin look okay? Like, I'm just like, does my skin look literally perfect? But then I'm like, but I also started this line because I am so acne prone, so it's okay if I have a zit here, but that's always a stress for me too. I'm like, oh.
That's so funny. And I remember you've also had a few celebrities buy your products too.
Yes. Well, I'm trying to think if there's like more, but so we had Rachel Kirkconnell buy our skincare products, which, if you don't know, she was the winner of The Bachelor, Matt's season of The Bachelor, the season that like Chris Harrison went out and everything. And that was like one of the last seasons that I watched. Yes. And I like loved Rachel. Anyways, one day, all of the products that don't get like delivered, like because they have the wrong address or something, go back to my house. And I always like take a picture of them and send them to my VA, so she knows, if somebody is like, hey, where's my package, she knows that it got to me. Anyways, I was taking pictures of like a couple of packages, and I see Rachel Kirkconnell, and I'm like, that's not a very common name. And then I look up like the location. I'm like, she lives there. And I like still wasn't convinced. And then I looked up she had ordered through TikTok Shop, and it was her that had ordered it. And I was just like, oh my gosh. Like,
oh my God.
People in the Bachelor world know about Lissy Skincare. That feels crazy.
Yes. Now you need to do product placement or like a partnership with them.
I know. I've reached out to her, but I haven't heard anything back. I ended up so she had originally bought in our Mandelic serum, and then a couple months later bought 2 more Mandelic serums, and that's the one that got returned to me. So I know that she likes the product because she ordered multiple, like a couple months later. So once that got returned to me, I sent her all of our products, and the 2 serums that she had ordered. But we haven't heard back from her, but I'm just like, I hope that you're, using it and loving it. And I know she has brand partnerships with other skincare lines, but I'm like, I hope you're just secretly in the background still using Lissy Skincare.
Yeah, 100%. It just made me think, it was like, oh, we have, so weirdly in our building, one of the Bachelor contestants on like a few seasons ago, she lives in our building, and I'm like, oh, we should like see if she wants to like try out Lissy Skincare.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
She
know what I
should.
mean? I literally just thought of this on this podcast live. So here we are.
Yeah. That'd be
But
amazing.
that would be amazing. So yeah, let's chat after. But one thing I wanted to touch on too is like you talked about, your boundaries with your time. You don't have childcare that I know of. How do you balance motherhood and being a business owner?
I would be lying if I said it was easy. It's not. And like, I don't work a ton on my business, but I do feel like I'm kind of doing little things all day throughout the day. Like I'll have a meeting here or there. I got to check some emails or something. Like there is always something going on. So that is something that I am actively working towards fixing, especially these last like few weeks. I've actually asked my husband to work like a few hours less so I can have dedicated hours just to work, so that I can be a more present mom and a more present business owner and separate the two better, because I was not able to separate the two for the longest time. And Lissy Skincare is getting busier, and I in turn am getting busier. And so I am working to just have a couple hours a day where I get to come to the office, because my husband, he works from home, but he works at Lissy Skincare office, and I'm the one at home.
Right.
So I'm like, I would like to go to my office and work.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
it's definitely hasn't been easy, and I have not been perfect at it, and it has not served me in being a mom or a business owner. So I am working on fixing that, because the amount of work that I can get done in 2 hours when I'm by myself at a desk is crazy. So
It's amazing, isn't it?
yeah,
We're
I'm
like
oh,
moms
wow.
are superpowers.
I got like a week's worth of stuff that I would have been getting done, instead of just like looking at my phone every 5 seconds to see if there's something I need to, like a fire I need to put out. I can just like do it all at once, and that's been great. So we're trying to get more consistent with that.
Yes. Okay, that's fantastic. But either way, it sounds like you're a good multitasker. Like you can switch gears quickly. For me, it takes me a minute. So like I have to have like my dedicated days that I'm doing, like dedicated times for everything. But it sounds like you're, so far have been able to multitask quite a bit, and even more so when you have your office time, you can do dedicated work much faster.
Yes.
Which I love. Okay, so advice for aspiring entrepreneurs who are listening to this. What advice would you give to other beauty entrepreneurs looking to maybe launch their product or grow their brand, to what you've created and beyond? Like, what advice do you have?
Yeah. I feel like I give this advice in real life all the time to like friends or family that are wanting to start businesses. And it is always to start slow and not feel like everything has to be perfect before you start. Like for me, I started with just one product. And if I had tried to get an entire skincare line in the very beginning, it would have taken many more years, much, much more money, and it probably just never would have happened. So where I just started with one product and I've slowly built on that and just launched one more product at a time, that has been so helpful for me. And I've done that in every business that I've had. Is just start really slow and not feel like you need all the money in the world to do it. And also just everything doesn't have to be absolutely perfect. Like with our first launch, our pictures, I look back at them and I'm like, our pictures are so much better now, our website is so much better now. But if I was waiting for it to be perfect, I would have never done it. And so just starting slow, not feeling like you have to have everything at once, not feeling like you have to have everything perfect. Like when I started, I didn't even have like my name trademarked. There's so many things that I didn't have done, which would have been great because now I'm hopefully not in a pickle. But I'm just saying, like it would have never happened if I was like making sure I had every legal thing ticked off, or anyways, that's my biggest piece of advice. Just start.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. It's like just doing it a little bit messy, putting it out there, and in the doing, I always say this, in the doing, that's when you're learning and that's when you're actually growing.
Yes.
And if you're just trying to prepare, then you're just in a state of preparation for the rest of your life. You're never going to get this
100%.
thing off the ground.
Yep.
So I love that you shared that as like the lesson learned. And I wanted to ask you too, like, what are some of what are a couple of challenges that you've had in recent, in the last year and a half, and how did you overcome them, and what did it take to overcome those challenges?
Honestly, I would be lying if I didn't say that it's been pretty smooth, and I feel like I've been pretty lucky. We've obviously had some hiccups, like just like learning curves, or we screwed up 100 orders that we shipped out to people, but I never got paid for, or little things like that. But nothing like so crazy. I feel like one of my biggest things was just mental, like getting over the scarcity mindset. I was stuck at just one product for such a long time because I was scared that the next product wouldn't be as great or people wouldn't like it as much. And, our Mandelic Serum is still by far our best seller, but people do love the other products and they are beneficial, but just having that fear of like, okay, I don't want to spend any money to run ads. I don't want to spend any money to create another product because I've made this amount of money and I just want to hold on to it. And just learning to have an abundant mindset has been really great. And I think that scarcity mindset was something that held me back for a long time. But I think because we did just start so slow and just took it like step by step, I feel like things have run pretty smooth. And I've heard of people saying you don't want to grow too fast because you don't know what you're doing. And I feel like we have very gradually at a good pace grown because of that. And that has helped things not get too out of hand. But we have those things where, oh, great, we are suddenly had a viral video and we're out of stock and we can't get more of the packaging for 2 more months and we're screwed. Like that's happened for sure. So I think it's just learning from those small mistakes to get better.
And can let me know if it's okay if we share like your wall painting story, because I think it's such a good example of what you're talking about right now.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, you can. I was like, what are you talking about at first? But now I know what you're talking about.
So the other day, I think actually like a couple of days ago, you're doing the Pinterest conference and you're doing this beautiful setup with like walls and decals and like, it's going to be very Instagrammable and just a whole beautiful booth. And, we were chatting about, you had said like, oh, I need to paint these walls need to get painted. And I have the option of either doing it myself, like picking it up, doing it myself at home, then bringing it back, or having this company do it for $1,500. And I was like, you got to pay the $1,500, even though it's kind of above what the rate would normally be for something like of the size. But looking like it's always looking at like, well, how much does your time cost? Like, how much do you pay yourself by hourly, right? Yeah. What would you be doing instead of that time? Like it would take, when we looked at it and we broke it down into like, we got to go and drive and pick it up. We got to get paint supplies. We got to go to Home Depot. We got to get, we got to lay this all out. We got to find the time to do it. Then a second coat, all these steps. It was like, oh shoot, I think it is worth it. Yeah. And so, I wanted to share that story just because I think did you ultimately decide to pay for it?
Yes. And I'm so happy I did. The time hasn't even come that I would have picked it up, and I'm already so relieved that I'm not doing it. And I'm like, when would I have done that with 2 kids with like 3 days until I need to prep everything for the Pinterest conference and the, moisturizer lunch? I'm so happy I'm not doing it. I'm so happy you told me to just pay somebody, even though it felt a little pricey. Worth it for sure.
I'm so happy you did it too. I mean, Lissy has like a little baby at home, and at first she was like, she told the company, nope, I'm not paying that money. And then we were breaking it down and we're like, well, this was actually I think this is going to be a lot more work than we think it's going to be. So I'm
I
really
literally
happy
called
that
him
you'll
back like
ultimately
5 minutes
discuss.
later saying, actually, I would like you to do it.
But my point in sharing that story is like, again, going back to how much do you value your own time, right? And I wanted to use that story to illustrate to everyone who's listening, like your time is worth something. There's a dollar amount that's ascribed to the time that you put into your business. And you need to figure out what that hourly rate is, but also look at, well, if I'm not doing that $20 an hour task, I could be doing $100 an hour task or $200 an hour task or 500 or 1,000. And at your level, and even at even earlier stage businesses, there's a real cost to choosing to try and do that yourself. That would end up taking you like a total of probably 8 hours or 6 or 8 hours, right?
Yeah.
There's a real cost to that. And so I just wanted to illustrate that in terms of like, overcoming that, like, financial scarcity that you were discussing earlier.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's
Yeah.
so worth it to pay people to help you so that you can work on the business and be so much more effective. And yeah.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for sharing your story, all of this amazing goodness about how you built your brand. Like, I've loved listening to your story. I've loved listening to the background of how you got here. And I'm so excited for what's to come. Give us a little sneak preview. What's coming up for Lissy Skincare, in the next 6 months to a year?
The biggest thing was this moisturizer launch. Like, this moisturizer launch has been,
go get it, guys.
I need to get over this moisturizer launch, and then I feel like I can start like doing new products and new things. So I'm really just hoping that now that we have cleanser, all our serums, our moisturizer, I can start focusing on some more fun products, but those take longer than 6 to 12 months, as I have learned. So
Yeah,
right
sure.
now I'm hoping just like do Pinners Conference, meet more people, grow in my business, make more business connections. We'd love to be in Sephora one day. So just working towards figuring out how to do that and getting our products and every systems and everything in the right place so that one day we can do that. And that's kind of what we're going to be working on the next year.
I love it. We're putting it out into the universe.
Yes.
So this was so fun, Lissy. Thank you so much for sharing your story with us and for being so open and honest and sharing the journey with us.
Thank you so much. This was so fun.
So fun. And I'll see you all on the next episode. Bye, everyone.
Bye.